Hello, and welcome to my first webcast entitled "Who Am I?" I'd like this to be a reference point that people could go back to in case they were wondering what my background was. So this is going to be used as a point of reference, and I'd like to begin by saying that success to me is enabling the success of others. So I want to begin this journey by um, telling you a bit of my background. So I grew up in a small town outside of Chicago, Illinois, and started my adult career joining the Air Force. I knew that I had always wanted to be a dentist, so I thought I would join the Air Force as a dental assistant and use that as a precursor prior to going to college to start my career in that venue. And anyway, went into basic training, got through that, and found out that there was no job openings as a dental assistant. So the uh, Air Force officer reviewed my records and he said, "Well, you have very high scores on your entrance exams. What do you think about being in the top 2% of the Air Force in military intelligence?" And I said, "Well, that sounds intriguing." So we went, further down that avenue. And in fact, that's what I did train and learn and become, and was actually stationed at the National Security Agency, NSA, in Fort Meade, Maryland. So I served my career there in the Air Force, and had for that period of time in my life had it was very intellectual, very demanding, having a number of security clearances and background checks and the like as my career advanced and moved forward, and put me in a great position to, once I received my honorable discharge, to go on to college. So I moved back to my hometown and started at the community college, College of Lake County, got my associate's degree, went on to receive my bachelor's degree from Southern Illinois University, and then went on to get my doctorate at Northwestern University in downtown Chicago. So I then moved around to a few different places, and kind of got my boots wet, and then finally settled on a small farm town in about an hour from where I grew up, so I could stay in the vicinity of my immediate family. And anyway, I thoroughly enjoyed being a dentist. I practiced for 30 years, and recently retired, and started looking at what to do once I retired. And I decided, well, one of my areas of interest is in finance. So I started going into stock trading and options and futures and regular normal stocks, and got my feet wet in that, and was intrigued and started delving further and further. And I came across these webinars presented by Michael Hearn, who was in crypto and DeFi, and he went around the world on his own dime and interviewed the who's who and what's what in decentralized finance. And one of the people that he interviewed was Brian Rose, who has his company in London called London Real. And so I took a course with Michael Hearn, and was intrigued by that. And that was a basic course on crypto and learning about that. But what ended up being was I found my passion, and come full circle from being in the Air Force as a military intelligence cryptographic analyst, come full circle 30 years later into crypto. So I felt like that was meant to be, and I really enjoyed it and started going down that rabbit hole and started taking courses then from Brian Rose at London Real, and went further and further down the rabbit hole. And then I signed up for another course with Brian, which I'm still currently in. And so I've done, I just spend 8, 10, 12 hours a day in this venue, in this field, because it's so intriguing. It's so dynamic. There's so much happening. And so I found that, I could easily fill a day and then another day and another day, and took more courses from Andreas Antonopoulos and Tika Tiwari, and am signed up with all of these various newsletters and webinars and seminars and YouTube's videos, subscriptions. And anyway, it's very intriguing and dynamic, and I just love the atmosphere. Going out into Web3 and making this more about you instead of it being about the centralized banks and the centralized monopolies and the FANGs, etc., and having this be more for the people, by the people. So I have a list of some of the names just as a background reference, not name dropping or anything like that. But I think it's important that you understand where I'm coming from, what my background is, so you know that what I'm saying is your history, what you've studied, what you've come to be in touch with. So I made a list of these names that I've been studying or gone through courses with, or read books, or gone down different paths in this passion of mine, and looking for turning the tables. So be it that I was always into studying and education and continuing ed throughout my career. And I have thousands and thousands of hours of education and continuing ed. And I thought, okay, it's time to step on the other side of the microphone. And so this is some of the people that I've been studying with, or been reading books on. So here's a reference to some of those people: Scott Melker, Dan Pena, Raoul Paul, Tika Tiwari, Robert Leshner, Anthony Scaramucci, Sandeep Nailwal, Professor Emin Gunsir, Professor Silvio Macaulay, Dr. Munib Ali, Yatsu, Andreas Antonopoulos, Russell Brunson, Ed Milet, Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, Napoleon Hill, Dean Grazioso, Jose Silva, Dr. Wayne Dyer, Michael Hearn, Stani Kulichov, Antoni Trenchev, Ben Armstrong, Alex Mashinsky, Richard Muirhead, Jeff Booth, Dan Moorhead, Dan Tapiero, Ben Cowan, Eric Voorhees, Dr. Joe Dispenza, Robert Kiyosaki, Karl Marx, Dean Grazioso, I already mentioned, Chef Jose Andres, Ken Blanchard, Dwayne Johnson, Wayne Dyer, John Wooden, Robert Ciardino, Pete Dawson, Frank Spear, the Pankey Institute, or for some of my formative years. But I just wanted to give you a background of what I've been studying, been going through and learning from. And I don't necessarily agree with all of these people, but you have to have different flavors, different varieties, in my opinion, in order to understand the what you're studying, and take everything with a grain of salt, and read in between the lines, and come up with, what your take is on this. And that's what my point is in being here with you, is to take in the information from a wide variety of sources, which is why I went through this list, so that you understand where I'm coming from and my background, and then we can come to some sort of consensus as to what the whatever we're discussing, or whatever opinions you have about a subject, whether it be in crypto and decentralized finance and Web3 and AI and AR and VR, all of the up and coming trends that are moving the needle, and not strictly just about crypto and the tokens and the NFTs. This is looking at this from a broader perspective. So that being said, just to give you an example, I'm currently involved in 5 different courses. I already mentioned Brian Rose with London Rio, Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, Russell Brunson, Dean Grazioso. So I'm putting together my web pages, my different social media sites, and you could see, if you went to my website, drdefi.net, doctordefi.net, that the page is only partially completed. And as a dentist, I tend to be very anal about preparation and being ready and being ahead of the curve, and having all my ducks in a row. And the courses that I've been taking are just saying the world has changed and you need to change with it, and just put yourself out there. And so that's what I'm doing. And against the way I had trained myself in the past, to be prepared, be ready for whatever is thrown at you. And this venue is saying, put it out there and advance as you advance. So I put the web page out there, without it being completely finished, which is totally against, like I said, how I traditionally do things. But it's my classmates have been pushing me, and rightfully so, to put myself out here. And so I'm excited for this chapter in my life. And you can also reach me. My email is drdefi22@gmail.com, DOCTORDEFI number 2 @gmail.com. So that being said, I appreciate your time, and like I said, plan on this as being a reference webcast as to my background, in the event that anyone is looking at some of my future presentations and saying, who is this guy? So I just wanted to give you some quick idea of my background and where I'm from, and etc. So it was a pleasure having your time today, and look forward to seeing you again in the near future.